Iko Nini. So imekuwa weekend moja refu kabisa. So in the process sijui kama ni mimi peke yangu ama pia wewe, but I feel like it's a Monday and yesterday was a Sunday. But yeah, wanted to check a few of the headlines and the Tuesday Standard iko na history ya the Western arm twist. Alafu ikabaki imeandikwa in a comic twist exposing the rot in public institutions, KCAA now seeks compensation, not restitution, from President Ruto linked Western Hotel over contested land. Alafu ikiendelea, despite earlier claims, the agency now signals the land grab is acceptable so as long as payment is made. Justice, it seems, has a price Western is willing to pay. So kuna shindwa history ya nini, like what is happening na KCAA ni nini? KCAA ni the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, and for a very long time kumekuwa na the debate ya Western. Ile Western inakuwa, I think part of it ilikuwa grabbed from Langata Primary, alafu the other part ilikuwa grabbed from ni watu wa Wilson Airport. That means the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. And of course when this land was grabbed, I think it was mostly maybe in the time the president was still the deputy president, and he didn't have power, but right now he has power. And if there's one thing musembaga sana inakuwaga the fact that the Kenya judiciary inakuwaga not independent. Unajua, like saizi, if you're to actually be serious, we can comfortably say that the president runs three institutions. Yeah? He controls the executive, controls the judiciary, and controls the legislative arm. Because the legislative arm, tunajua, it's basically useless. Iko pale kwa parliament, just being yes man. Anything he wants, he gets. So, history ya Western, ilikuwa interesting because pia imebaki to take back to headline ingine, and this headline ilikuwa ya when? Ilikuwa ya 2019. Yes, ilikuwa bank fights to get back 1 billion from Ruto Hotel. Alafu ikakuwa ni court enjoins KCB in ownership dispute with the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority over land on which Western Hotel sits. So, yeah, this is the president of corruption case bado zinamfuata, but this time he's winning them. When he was deputy, one of the things that happened, of course, was the fact kulikuwa na ile story ya land ya 100 million ya ule buda alikuwa anaitwa Muteshi. That one he ended up losing, and that's one of the points where unaweza pata, like ukinipataga nikipatia Uhuru credit, mumpatia Uhuru credit for the fact that even as president, when his deputy was facing cases, he let him face the cases, and this was even before wakosana in quotes. Hiyo kesi ya Mteshi ilikuwa solved huko mbele and aliacha the case to happen. Of course, Ruto on the other side amekuwa kireward like all his friends. That's why unapata as soon as he became president, kesi ya Linturi ile ya kuingia kwa room ya dem ilibaki imeanguka. Kesi ya Aisha Jumwa ilibaki imeanguka. Kesi ya Rigiji, this same Gachagua, kesi yake ilikuwa na a corruption case, 200 million yake ilikuwa frozen during time ya Uhuru. All that, he ended up getting back his money and his case was thrown out. So one thing is for sure, Ruto rewards his loyal supporters, but don't forget the rest of us are not loyal supporters, and that's where it gets scary. Because kama juzi nilikuwa na watch kuna show moja, if you watch Iko Nini unajuaga I keep talking about this show, but majuzi nilikuwa na watch show inaitwa what's the name of the show? Murder Tapes. Yes, nilikuwa na watch Murder Tapes. Na kwa Murder Tapes kulikuwa na story ya this incident that happened, I think Masaiza Chuka, where 4 people died in less than 21 hours. And part of the some of the people that died kulikuwa na was it kulikuwa na the chief, yes, the chief of the area, kulikuwa na OCS, kulikuwa na a witness, alafu pia kulikuwa na the main suspect ule alikuwa involved in the murder of the chief. And kuna story ya a Kenyan who was in Nairobi at the time when this is happening. This is happening in Chuka. Kenya yuko Nairobi. And somehow no one, so when he was taken as one of the 9 suspects, no one checked how impossible it is to move from Nairobi to Chuka in 1 hour 20 minutes. So this guy ended up being convicted and is going to serve the next 30 years in jail. So he's one of the people who are found guilty. and this was the ultimate miscarriage of justice. And kumbuka majuzi when Ruto was pardoning his people, who did he pardon? He ended up pardoning like mapedophiles walienda po wakipardoniwa, and of course wasi wa kuua, but hakuangalia kesi kama hii kesi of course imekuwa wame appeal, but I don't think kama wata get justice. But now angalia on the other side what happens when you control the judiciary is you can have it all. Najua you can have the money, you can have the power, and you can have the ability to do what you want to do. So I guess Weston is here to stay, and Weston is also normally one of the reasons why I feel like kutoa umse 2022, if everyone does not recruit a voter, kutoa umse itakuwa hard sana. So please recruit a voter. Kumbuka nilikwambia mimi na recruit 4 voters na mimi ni Mwafrika, and that's just from my inner circle, and I'm going to ask these 4 voters to try and see if they can recruit another 4 voters each. Alafu all 4 voters unacheki, and that's how you back umedu hii kitu. Like the numbers have to be so scary that, as I keep saying, Ethicon will not have a chance to try anything. Yeye mwenyewe hata unajua apige ubudajo mwambie jo ile story ya maybe cyber cafe wala sawa kuibelieve, lakini jo budajo hapa wezi saidika. The honorable thing is to concede, because Ruto iko on record akisema that asipopatiwa second term, asipoperform in his first term, then asipatiwa second term. But what we've been seeing has been basically a primitive accumulation of wealth, and yes, so tumekuwa na programs that make sense on paper, but the country is losing more than it's gaining. Like one of the things that everyone keeps telling us about, of course, ni story ya SHA. And with SHA, the president is benefiting more than CC, because if the program was supposed to cost 13 billion, but it cost 104 billion, if 91 billion is going into individual pockets, no matter how good the 13 billion is doing, we have to look at how much would 91 billion do. So that's like one of those things that happens. Alafu kitu inanikatia na history yote ni kulikuwa pia na hii headline ile ilikuwa ni state owes pensioners 108 billion as official travel expenses soar. So ilikuwa ni budget boss Margaret Nyakango who raised alarm over the delayed disbursements of the pension fund. So pension funds, of course, ini mabuda zetu, mamada zetu, maparo wetu walifanya kazi. Right now they're supposed to be enjoying their pension, and there's no guarantee that they're going to get their pension. Nacheki. And apart from that, this is the same time where these officials keep traveling. And when they travel, there's this one thing that a lot of us think is normal. And personally, I used to think is normal. I used to think that when you travel, you are owed kitu inaitwa per diem. Until I always give the example of nikienda Ghetto Radio. Iza lazima ni clean hizi specs. Nikiwa Ghetto Radio nilipata chance ya kutravel, and I was traveling at the expense of the Dutch taxpayer. So tuko tunishia maside za place naitwa Rotterdam, so but via Amsterdam. So simi najuaga ukitravel lazima upatiwe travel allowance, upatiwe nini. The Dutch taxpayer alikuwa amelipa tikiti yangu ya ndege. Apart from that, alikuwa amelipa hoteli, alikuwa amelipa food. Do you think I got a per diem? Sikupata. First time it happened, I was like, okay, maybe it's a mistake. Second time, nikapata chance. Bado courtesy of the Dutch taxpayer. This time ilikuwa tunaenda cover event ya hip hop and Rock the Bells. Going to happen Masaiza, New York. Did I get any per diem? No. The fact that that's how they treat their tax money. Na sisi, kumbuka King William alikuja hapa kumita William, and that's the difference. William akienda ile side, so utapata William akikuja hii side hakuna stories za per diems, hakuna nini, as long as kila kitu imelipwa, hakuna anything that ana get extra. But William akienda on the other side atapata doya shopping. Apart from doya shopping, wife wake atapatiwa doya shopping. Apart from wife wake kupatiwa doya shopping, watapatiwa per diem. Apart from per diem, bado watapatiwa food. And this is how we waste taxpayers' money. And this is how we end up in a situation whereby so much money is spent on bullshit, and we end up with hospitals where we'll hear something like the cancer machine at Kenyatta National Hospital is broken, and everyone thinks that's normal. That's not normal. How can such a big hospital have one machine? Najua. And it's not like this whatever machine. It's a machine that can be bought if we decided we are not changing the windows in Ruto's office, or we are not changing the carpet at State House. It's enough to buy that machine, because don't forget, all these things come at very inflated prices. So history ya nini, it's deeper than a lot of us would want to think. History ya Weston na history just a wastage of public resources and everything. And still talking of Ruto, of course, one of the most interesting things I saw was still kwa meposti wa Money Academy KE na ilikuwa bank's profit performance in the first 3 months of 2025, and a lot of banks Stanbic walikuwa down 16.6%, wakaenda to 3.3 billion. Stanchart down 13.5, wakaenda to 4.8. Equity down 4%, 15.4. KCB up 0.03 to 16 billion. NCBA up 3.4 to 5.5 billion. ABSA up 3.7 to 6.2. COP up 5.3 to 6.9. Alafu DTB up 10%. Family Bank up 15%. I&M up 17%. But this is where it gets interesting. Hizi banks mbili na kumkani kibonga juu yake. Housing Finance Group up 118% to 327 million. Sydian Bank up 250% to 557 billion. If you're wondering why this is interesting, is when Gachagua alienda on the Obina show na kasema that Ruto owns a few banks. You remember I told you that I called someone who used to work for Ruto and nikamuuliza which banks does Ruto own. Akaniambia number 1 ni Sydian Bank, cheki profit 250%. Number 2 Housing Finance, profit 118%. So yes, this is the situation where if the president najua Kenya conflict of interest means nothing. It's so jamaa fala atakwambia ni side hustle, anadu hivi jo, ana make profit yake hivi, alafu tutabaki tumeenda hivyo. But yeah, so mnacheki vile the president is doing, and the president is doing very well. And still tukistick to the president, of course kuna dem moja ule tuna hope leo atabaki amefikishwa kotini, na dem tunabonga juu yake ni Rose Njeri. Rose Njeri kuna vile alishikwa last week. Alishikwa last week juu alibaki amecreate a website, and on this website what she was asking people was to comment on the finance bill ya 2025, and with this they ended up going to her house, arrested her, and she's been in jail I think since Thursday. They took advantage of that, never took her to Nini on Friday because they knew it was a long weekend, so I end up the whole long weekend. So tuna hope atafikishwa kotini kesho. But sasa ni interesting kuteki kile waswa gava na their arrogance are saying. So umsa naitwa Cheriot alibaki amesema Ruto not to blame for arrest as the buck stops with IG. And Ruto penda kutupushia hii narrative, and the narrative is that the police are independent, and the police in Kenya have never been independent since independence. And we've seen this. Tukiangalia Kenyatta, the 1969 massacre Kisumu, Makaraundi walifanya. Why? To protect the executive. The Wagala massacre under Moi, to protect the executive. Tukigo down tuende kwa Kibaki 2007, Makarao walijaza city mortuary to protect the executive. During Uhuru's time, Makarao walijaza different places kama hii up to even akina Rivayala to protect the executive and other stuff. So Ruto akatokea, these people are going to be independent. A few people ended up buying that bullshit till the protest happened last year. And when the protest happened last year, what happened? A lot of people ended up being shot. BBC waka come up na documentary, and the BBC4 even ended up being arrested. Why? Because the police are not independent. They are here to protect the executive. That's their number one job, Kenya. Na kuanga protect the executive, specifically the president, then the citizens. Makara wa Kenya, if there was a way that they could get rid of all 55 million of us na wabaki tu na president, they'd do it. They don't care about us. So for anyone to start telling us that somehow these people, the IG is independent, this person is not independent, this person can be dismissed by the president, how independent is that? Si kulikuwa na Mutiambai kabaki ametolewa. I think kulikuwa na nani tena. Saizi ndio kuna Kanja. Before Mutiambai kulikuwa na Koome pia kachujwa. Hakuna independence hapa. Yes, the independence, kuna dependency ama interdependency on the executive. And with that in mind, there is no way unaweza tuambia that if we are worried about Rose Njeri, then we need to ask the IG of police, because the IG of police does not control watu. But yes, that's the nini. And yeah, but the president anaendelea kutengeneza pesa yake jo. Sisi wacha tuendelea kuhustle and tuone kama tutakuwa laki. Walisema si uchawi ni maombi. Ushafikiriaga jo? Unaona? Wasiombage vizuri. Sasa tukaa chini. Let's go down on my knees. Wacha try kuona kama hii bilioni inaweza baki nimeipata. Okay, hakuna space. Iko nene.